What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Combine here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thank you guys for logging in and watching on today. We have a great show for you today. We'll be talking about the current 2023 NFL Combine that is currently ongoing right now. The defensive back groups and special teamers are currently doing the 40-yard dash, probably one of the most hype performances for all players and for teams to get involved. Today, our guest is Alfredo Arteaga of 3 Yards Per Carry. Alf, how we doing today, my guy?
Great. Twitter's not doing so great. It's a Friday, so like I couldn't I could not care less. Like really.
You could not
Like
care less. Well, are you up there watching the combine?
well now I am. I'm recording all of it because I found it was almost impossible for me to watch it live as it was happening. So I'm recording all of it and then I'll just consume it one by one. There's a lot of these drills that are absolutely useless. Like
Yes, except for the 10-yard splits.
Like the only drill, like for the DBs, the only drill that I really like to see. Look, I like to see them all run. It's all important. Like you watch everybody run, and it's important, including tackles and guards and centers. Like all of that is important. Like I care about the 40-yard dash times.
Ooh,
Okay.
Sidney Brown, safety out of Illinois, is almost a 4.49 unofficial. Right now, the best time is DJ Turner out of Michigan with a 4.26. And I will tell
Wow.
you, if you guys follow Math Bomb Kentley Platt on Twitter, Maryland's Deontay Banks has a 9.99 relative athletic score unofficially.
Yeah, I'm doing so. I've started some work on the DBs, and like I was saying before, like a lot of these drills are absolutely useless. Like you want to see the 40-yard dash times. The shuttle run is important for and you want to see some broad jumps. Like some of the measurables, like I think are important, to get a good picture. But I'm talking about like those on-field drills. There's only one that I find useful at all,
Do
and
you think
that's
the for
and
the
that's the,
linebackers, the three-cone drill, the short shuttle, and the wave drill are
That's very
important?
important. Like all of those are important because those are time drills. The ones that I'm talking about are the untimed drills. Like I don't know, like yesterday they had a defensive lineman running around a cone, and then he hit a pad, and then he did a swim move on another pad, and then he ran through two cones. It's completely useless unless you wanted to see a guy running around, and how he changes direction, right? But there's only one drill that I think is really useful. One of the untimed drills that I think is really useful, and that's whenever they have the DBs on their back pedal and they have their leverage, drop, and
Right,
then
you're
they
looking
have
at
them
the
leverage drop the
fluidity,
other
you're
way,
looking at their hips, you're looking at if they can track the ball,
right?
their
And then they
back
throw a
pedals
bomb
back.
and then he catches it, right? I think that's important. Like you watch that and you start to get a picture of how a guy would look in coverage.
Well,
So
right now
that's
it's
useful.
it mostly looks like the defenders are on display. You had the defensive line, edge group, and linebackers yesterday. Today you have the defensive backs, the safeties, the corners, and the special teamers. Let's go ahead and talk about just that group from yesterday. I mean, they had that edge group and defensive line group just had a freakish showing yesterday. I don't know if you guys have been following along of Pittsburgh's Kalijah Kancey. He's getting comps to his former Pittsburgh Allen Aaron Donald. He's 6'0", ran a 4.67, 280 pounds, and he had a 92 athleticism score. Aaron Donald was 6 foot, 285 pounds, 4.68, 90th athleticism score. I
What's
mean,
do you have their wingspans to compare them?
I do not have their wingspans on right now, but let me see something because you can make a lot of player comps just by their physicalities. His relative athletic score so far, I think, is in 9.0. I cannot find his wingspan just yet. I'll have to dig in and dive deep. But one thing we know about Mike McDaniel is he loves his edge and defensive line groups. I mean, he made that a point of emphasis last season. Do you expect like the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel to actually, invest in an edge rusher or a defensive lineman in this draft?
I think a defensive lineman is entirely possible. If you look at the roster construction, It kind of seems to me like it's probably necessary going forward. You don't know if you're keeping Sealer. You know that the plan going forward is Christian Wilkins is getting an extension,
Right.
Phillips is getting his 50-year option picked up, or an extension ahead of time, which might be the better idea.
Right.
Um, Bradley Chubb is already under contract, so
Jalen
you know,
Phillips is on a rookie year.
yeah.
You
So
know.
you're talking about it's essentially all about Sealer and how you're going to replace him going forward if you're not going to keep him. Uh, I think that he's a guy that you want to play ball with. He's a Drew Rosenhaus client. Those
Mhm.
guys usually work out with the Dolphins. It usually works out all right with them. So I would expect he'll be under contract. That's still not a defensive line. You still need your third. You need a guy that could play head up on tackles. You need the five technique because Ogba won't be here past this past year unless something unforeseen happens. So yeah, I would expect that they will take a defensive lineman with one of those top 100 picks, and they have three of them.
So one of the defensive tackles that actually outperformed and showed out was Northwestern's Adi Adebawori. Had himself a day. He had 9.83 unofficial relative athletic score, 282 pounds, 6'1", 10-yard split was a 1.61, unofficial vertical was 37.5, broad jump 10. He tested absolutely elite in almost every single category except for his height. Now, as a 5 and as a potential 3, is that a problem for height?
Wingspan's a problem, and I understand everybody's talking about, and we did Cansey on our show on the 2 on 3 YPC show. Um, he's a similar player, really really good football player, but you're limited when you get to those guys. And I understand that Aaron Donald is all world. I would submit that Aaron Donald, Leroy Glover, John Randall, these are exceptions. This is not normal. Like that's not normal. And when you're gonna have a defensive tackle play two gaps, wingspan's important because double teams will defeat those guys.
Right.
It's just a matter of it's just how it is. Okay, and when you're setting the edge uh, as a five tech, height and length matters. It just does. You got to be able to extend your hands on a tackle. You're trying to get the tackle not to drive on you. Once he drives on you, edge is gone, and once the edge is gone, it's opening up runs to the outside. That's not a good thing either.
And this is
Or
where
you
I
could get
feel
washed out, which is worse, and then they cut back inside of you. So I understand, and we talked. You mentioned Gansey. He ran fast.
right.
His tape is absolutely spectacular at Pitt. He's a good football player, but I
Fit
think
for
that
the
there's like
scheme? Don't know.
for the scheme. I kind of know it's a no.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
no.
For the scheme, he's just a bad fit, and
And
I think
I feel like where we get to this is if you're talking about height, if you're talking about length, Wisconsin's Keanu Benton, 6'4", weight of almost 310 pounds. We know with the NFL's training regimen, their preseason and training camp regimen, they're going to gain at least another 10, 15 pounds. That's a big boy. Broad was a 903 vertical, 29 and a half. Doesn't necessarily have an elite athletic score, but he's got good scores, good athleticism, and his tape is pretty well, especially coming from that Wisconsin defense, who really, really make sure that they're good at defending the run, especially along the interior.
Oh, and Wisconsin, their system is very similar to what we run as well. It's a two gap
Exactly.
system, so that kind of translates. And I understand people are going to say, but and they're going to say it again, hey, but Aaron Donald and this guy and that guy, those it's an anomaly. Trust me when I tell you, those guys are not. It's not going to happen for a lot of those guys in this system. And like I said on Kansas, you talking about, I would say a third of the league would take him off their board. Like he's just not a fit. And I think Miami is one of those teams that will take him off the board.
Now, do you think that that Mike McDaniel will push Chris Greer to draft an edge rusher? I mean, if you haven't heard of Nolan Smith's freaky uh, day yesterday, I mean, he's going to be gone in the first round. He's not going to be available at 51. But do you think they'll draft an edge rusher?
No, I think Mike McDaniel will have a lot of weight on the offensive side of the ball. And what's somebody say? I'm not sure if you agree with his comparison for Jack Campbell. Reminds me a little bit of Dan Morgan. That's a good one. That's a really really good comparison. And hey, if he's Dan Morgan, sign me up.
Sign you
Okay.
up? Why? Why?
Yeah.
You got to explain to me who Dan Morgan is, or at least some of the younger listeners of this show.
All right, let me look up his career. Dan Morgan was a really good player. He had injury issues, but he was a really good player at the University of Miami. Think Luke Kuechly before Luke Kuechly.
Luke
Um,
Kuechly before Luke Kuechly.
yes, he had to retire at an early age. Okay, but he was a first round pick. He was 11th overall. He was 6'2", 245 pounds. He could run. Um, he's actually the assistant general manager of the Carolina Panthers. You know what I mean?
Well, look at that.
So he's made a pretty good career of it. All right. He was a first team All Pro in 2004. I remember he had injury issues, and I don't remember if it was like Luke Kuechly that it was concussions, but
Yeah,
because
Kuechly had concussion issues.
yeah, Kuechly had concussion issues, but Dan Morgan, look, he was an All Pro in 2004. He was a Pro Bowler in 2004 as well. He was the All Rookie team. Uh, you saw his college career was ridiculous. Bronco Nagurski, Chuck
Right.
McNarick, Dick Buckus
Same with
Awards.
Jack Campbell, the best linebacker in the nation, won the Bronco Nagurski trophy. I remember you and I talking about him off camera.
Okay, what ended his career was now I remember it was an Achilles
Ugh.
tear. Okay.
Oh.
Dan Morgan was a really good player. Yeah, if Jack Campbell's going to be Dan Morgan, sign me up. That's a very, very good comparison, and I like it. I like
Is
it
he
a
a
lot.
fit? Is he a fit in Miami?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
I mean, here are some of the comparisons, just his athletic scores overall. He's being compared to TJ Watt and Leighton Vander Esch. And we know Leighton Vander Esch right now, he's a free agent. He would be an
Leighton
expensive.
Vander Esch, that gets me. That's a good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a good comparison. He's a free agent. If Miami were to miss out on, if they were to miss out on other linebackers, or if they don't think they'll get a guy like Jack Campbell. I think with Jack Campbell, he's 6'5", dude. I mean, he's almost 6'5", 250 pounds. His 10-yard
Do
split
you
is
have his measurables, like his actual height, how it came out at the combine?
6'4", 5".
Okay, so he's 6'4.5".
Yeah, he's 6'4" and a half.
So he's all of 6'5" when he puts on the shoes. He's gonna be six
Yep.
five on the field. So he's a
Yep.
pretty long guy.
Yep, and
Okay.
he's gonna bulk up in the offseason. He may be playing at 260.
Are these his numbers that
Yep,
I'm looking at? The
yep,
40 time because I have
yep,
all of that recorded. I have his 10-yard split was 159.
yep.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
51.
if you watched, I mean, you'll probably watch it, but when he was doing the wave drill, I mean, he was pretty like when you're looking at his movements, he was pretty in line. Like there was no lost step or anything like that. Like he had a solid, perfect D. Like when you're looking at the wave drills, the linebackers, they're shuffling side to side, then they move back, then they curve and come across for the ball. Like they're supposed to be making a perfect D. His D was probably one of the most, like it was within the outline frame that you are basically looking for. Now, I actually had in my mock draft, I didn't select Jack Campbell within the 51st or 52nd pick. I actually traded back a whole lot to grab more picks and more players and some players for the Dolphins that they need, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I had them drafting Noah Sewell from Oregon. What are your thoughts on Noah Sewell?
I got to read up more on him. I got to dig a little bit deeper. Um, I'm looking at the tight ends, and did you come away with a tight end
I
in
did
this?
come away with the tight end. I had Cincinnati's Josh Wiley.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you don't know who Cincinnati's Josh
Yeah, I
Wiley,
know, I know what you're trying to, trying to do there. You're trying to recreate history because of the comparables to another Cincinnati tight end.
I'm not
Hmm.
actually comparing him to a Travis Kelsey type of thing. He actually I'm trying to compare him to a Mike Gesicki, but a much, much, much better blocker. That's exactly what I'm trying to compare him to. Like he's Mike Gesicki, but a much, much, much better blocker. But if we're talking like with this linebacker group, Noah Sewell, he's obviously Panay Sewell's little brother,
Yeah,
high ranking, was projected as a first rounder last year, but with
and you
this,
took him with which pick?
I have him in the third round actually, since I traded back a lot. I had him round 3, pick 85. So pretty good valuation there. Um,
He fits, although I would say that, although I have to get into his tape because
right.
all I have is, the player. I know who he is. I know what he plays, and I know what kind of system he played in. You know, I wouldn't say you overdrafted him because that's where he should go, like somewhere. He's a top 100 player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you didn't overdraft him. I just don't see the need for taking him there when you have him on the roster already in Channing Tindall.
Okay. Well, I had him because of his run defense prowess. He plays downhill. He can pass rush off the edge, and he kind of replaces a Landon Roberts if you don't want to keep spending money at the linebacker position. Now, can he be over aggressive? Yes, but he can cover better than a Landon Roberts. He's younger, he's faster, he's more stout, he's built, and he can cover in the flats and those short zone areas. Uh, can he play against tight ends? Not necessarily, but this coverage basically dictates that defensive backs take care of tight ends, especially on the verticals and the seams.
Hmm.
Thoughts?
I don't know. I think but I'm the wrong guy to ask. I would never take Phil linebackers ever, and I think he's a Phil linebacker.
You think he's a Phil linebacker? Well, what do you think about Washington State's Deion Henley?
It's a different kind of player,
Uh huh.
but when we're talking like a linebacker for this system and taking one in the top 100 picks, I'm more into what Jack Campbell can offer, and I'm more into something like that. But I'm thinking about something that will be like an instant. How should I say it's an instant contributor, an instant
Hmm.
impact, and I don't think that you can pass up because I'll tell you exactly what I think. All right, although I haven't looked at it too much, but I have seen some of these players play. Uh, you took Noah Sewell, Demarion Overshawn.
All right.
I think he's right there with him. I think he'll be there,
Former
and I think
safety
that's
turned linebacker.
yeah. So I think that's a guy that you could take later on
Can play
down the
the
road.
overhang position, can rush the passer, can run
Yeah, and
defend,
and
good
you
in
said
coverage.
and you said, look, if you want to save money, I think at 51 there's an outside possibility. Although after running what he ran, forget it. Trent Simpson at 51, I think there was an opportunity for Trenton Simpson to be there at 51 because he was going to have
Madison,
a lot of those concerns that Jerome Baker had.
right.
And where did Jerome Baker go? He went in the second round, right?
I
So
think I
I
think
was
Jerome
thinking,
Baker
all
was a
right,
third rounder.
if you wanted to save some money, I think you could save it there,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't save Atlanta Roberts money. It's like first of all, it's no money, and you're deducting one team captain from the
Mhm.
team. I don't like this crop the way I like the tight ends, and I think there's no way you could pass up the top 100 picks and not take a tight end.
Yeah,
And that's where I've been.
I have them taking a tight end in Josh Wiley, he's 6'5", he's 6'6", 250 pounds, high point the ball. His route running skills are much more polished than what Mike Gesicki had coming out of college. He can attack all 3 levels of the field.
He's running Saturday, right?
He's running Saturday, I believe. Oh, well, tomorrow. He's running tomorrow. He's has a lot of he has a lot of snaps running the RPO at Cincinnati, especially with Desmond Ritter and the current quarterback he had last season. He was used as an X, he was used as a slot, and he can block in line more. The other thing, he can also gritty, kind of like kind of like Mike Gesicki. So he has the potential, the
Well,
potential.
he's one of the better route runners. Him and Luke Musgrave are the better route runners at tight end,
Right.
and he's a really,
I
really
think we're selling short Dalton Kincaid here as well.
well. But I'm ignoring Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer because I don't think
Yeah,
that
they won't be there.
I think both of them will go in the first round. I know that you have certain guys like Mel Kiper talking about 4 tight ends in the first round. I'd
No,
bet against that, and
no.
I would book your bets. I think there's 2 tight ends in the first round. It will be Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid. I've completely ignored both guys because I don't think there's any opportunity
No.
whatsoever.
Not at all.
You know,
Not at all. And
yeah.
here's actually an interesting comp to Dayon Henley. Quan Alexander.
Now that's
Just
an interesting
athletically.
one. That's an interesting one. Okay, you know, I hate these comparables that are comparing that are comparing all these prospects to like in certain respects Hall of Famers, like Lance Zierlein was comparing Cansey to John Randall. Okay. But now we're comparing them to like 10-year vets that have been really, really effective players. I don't know, man. Like you kind of want to look at it, you want to kind of want to see it, but I don't know, you know. Yeah, and that's the thing about linebackers, man. You got to see them actually play at the next level to actually know what you're getting. I think you could project a little bit better on a few other positions, especially like I said, tight end. And this class is absolutely loaded, and I'm in on it for sure. Um, if I had to critique your guy, Josh Wiley, man, there's not a lot of inline tape on him
Hmm.
at Cincinnati. I saw him play a lot live, but I'm gonna do another rewatch. I do know he's one of the better route runners in the class. I would say only Luke Musgrave is a better route runner, and like I said, I'm ignoring the top two guys.
Right.
There's a couple of other guys that I want to look at, and man, there's the head coach and the general manager in a meeting, and then it comes out that the player met with both and spoke with both. I think you had to put some stock into that and put those guys on a short list, because a head coach's job at the his time at the scouting combine is extremely limited. Like
Hmm.
he'll do maybe 10 interviews, 8 interviews, while the general manager and the scouting staff will take care of the rest. So Mike McDaniel thought enough of Tucker Kraft to sit in on an
Ooh.
interview with him. I'd put him on a short list. And then you turn on his tape, and it's hard to watch South Dakota State. Okay. So
The
you gotta
Jack
start
Rabbit.
yeah, you gotta start digging into a lot of highlight films. But man, does he check out. And he is a good blocker. Like that's
He's
A+.
what? He's 22. I want to say his projection is third round. Last I've heard, 6'5". I think his wingspan is just a hair under 80. I want to say 80
Hmm.
inches, like around 79 and a fifth, probably. Soft hands, got a big ass catch radius. I will say this, can block as well. But I'm wondering if he's that type of guy that Mike McDaniel can say, "This is my George Kittle." Do you
I
feel
think
like Tucker Kraft is that?
I think he can. His tape really, really, really pops. There's another guy in the tight end position that at 51, like run. Don't even call. Just run with the card up there and just take it. And I know that people are saying, no way, no chance. Well, there's one way that it's no chance, no way, and that's on Saturday if he runs good. But Darnell
Mhm.
Washington at 51, I think he's perfect. And I mean,
Perfect.
he's like
Well, what
right
about if
there.
Jahmyr Gibbs is available? Because I have our first
Well,
pick
now we're
with
getting. Well,
Jahmyr
now we're
Gibbs.
getting. Well, you see. Well, now we're getting into the must draft territory. And we've already mentioned a couple of players. I got Darnell Washington as a must draft at
Okay.
51. I got a few DBs. I got Branch out of Alabama as one as well.
Brian Branch. I think Brian Branch may go. I think low key, Brian Flores is going to fall in love with Brian Branch, and he's going to pound the table in that draft room.
In Minnesota,
Yeah.
like he has before in the second round. So he'll probably take him ahead of us.
Yep.
Yeah, but I got Darnell Washington as a must draft. I got Jack Campbell as a must draft, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like I don't see how this offense passes up on Jahmyr Gibbs. I could see how
I
other
can see how
teams.
they pass him up if they think they have an opportunity at with Zach Charbonnet later on, or if they try to trade
Right.
back.
Well, the running back position is just so loaded. Like there's
Running
so
back is
many good
loaded, tight end
players.
is loaded, and we have a question here from Tins. Who's your guy's number one cornerback prospect in this year's draft?
I think it's Devin Witherspoon. It's not particularly close. I just started doing my work on this right now, and I've ignored a couple of these guys like Christian Gonzalez because
Right. He's
there's
not a
no
fit for
chance
this. Yeah,
he's
he's
not
not.
going to be there at 51. So what's the use? I've done
Yeah.
some work on Brian Branch. I like him a lot. Devin Witherspoon is just because he's such a good player. I wanted to see him, and he's my number one. Man, I'm having a hard time keeping Joey Porter Jr. out of number
At number
two.
two,
Yeah, I really do like him. And man, he fit the mold of what you want your corner to be in this type of system. Now, there's no opportunity whatsoever to get him at
nope.
51. He's a trade up candidate because there's a possibility he's in the 20s. And if he's in the 20s, you could package future picks
Yep.
to move up there to go get him. That's about it. But other than that, don't get your hopes up high. I love him. I think he's absolutely great.
What
One
are your
guy I
thoughts
don't like.
on what are your thoughts on Keely Ringo?
I don't
Because
like him.
I don't have some good thoughts on him at all.
Neither do I. I
I
in
have him
fact, I'm
as
gonna get.
in Noah Igbenogany's tier.
Let me see. Let me get on to because I wrote something about him because now on OnlyFans it's kind of loaded as far as all the information. I wrote something about Kelly Ringo. I want to quote myself accurately because I thought it was profound. All right.
We have Anthony. He's saying he wants to run to the podium for Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M. He fits the type of safety that Fangio likes, great tacklers. I actually have Miami with their second, third round pick. I have them picking up Jalen Jones from Texas A&M.
That's something.
Does he itch your brain?
A little, just a little. But I'm trying to find this because I wrote this. Oh, here it is. All right, I wrote like my because I started doing some work on the cornerback class today, and Kelly Ringo. I was gonna ignore him, but I was like, man, I gotta see because I gotta have an opinion on him because we're gonna start doing draft shows pretty soon. And all I remember from Kelly Ringo is just watching SEC games and oh, there he goes. That's the guy that everybody likes, right?
Yeah.
So that's it, right? I wrote this. Kelly Ringo has the fluidity and smoothness of a 400-pound man lubed up in an orgy.
Yep. Exactly.
So if you ever imagine what a 400-pound man lubed up in an orgy would look like, he would just essentially fuck up the orgy. Right?
Yeah.
He would just be bumping into everybody and nobody would have a good time, right?
Right.
He's a great athlete. Obviously, he's a good player. He's going to be drafted high. But he's really slow out of his back pedal. And I really like to look at his leverage drop. When you look at a defensive back and you look at his leverage drop, it's important that he's fluid and that he changes directions quickly. Because if he can't, that's how guys get beat over the top. That's how you get beat vertically.
And the other thing is, too, I don't think Georgia gave him a lot of safety help either, especially from what's his phrase? From Christopher Smith as well. Christopher Smith was limited athletically. He was, 5'10", 5'11", and he played mainly, the robber position, I want to say, at Georgia.
Yeah.
So have you?
And not even robber. He played mostly like the monster position or what they used to call the gator back, which is essentially a fourth linebacker. So how does that translate as far as how what kind of system can Kelly Ringo play in? All you have is those like I said, those leverage drops are really, really important. And by the way, if everybody's thinking about what the hell a leverage drop, what the hell is he talking about as far as a leverage drop? It's pretty simple. If you're playing inside leverage, how are you running backwards with inside leverage? How are you running backwards with outside leverage? That's it. That's all it is. It's which way you're turned.
Easy word. You can use the back pedal and see how he does his fluidity movements, but his fluidity movements is a 400-pound oiled up in an orgy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's clunky.
That's a good analysis. I mean? Now, I had Jalen Jones from Texas A&M, 6'2", 200 pounds.
You talking about Antonio Johnson?
Huh?
Antonio Johnson? Is that
no? Jalen Johnson.
Oh, Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson, 6'2", 200 plus pounds. I think his wingspan is 73, 74. He's got long arms. He's got big ass hands as well. Tough guy, run support can help you out. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but a lot of the guys who I picked on defense in my mock draft, really, really good in run support because you need that in a Vic Fangio type of defense. He hustles a lot, very aggressive and a surefire tackler, and he'll fit the mold, I think, because if you take a look at Mario Goodrich from Clemson, I find him a little bit similar to Jalen Johnson. And I actually had Mario Goodrich come in as a compensatory for my trade of of Cedric Wilson to the Eagles. Then, of course, we have Josh Wiley. Then I had an offensive tackle. You can never have too much depth at offensive tackle, especially with the Dolphins case. They've had a lot of injuries along the offensive line the last 3 years. I picked up a versatile guy from Utah. Braden Daniels played left tackle left guard, right tackle multiple times, and I think he was the left tackle for Utah this past season and gave up only 2 sacks and 4 pressures with our fifth rounder. Then I have wide receiver because River Craycraft is not on the roster. Trent Sherfield, who I really, really like, I hope he gets re-signed. Um, he may be a candidate for a re-sign, or he may not be picked up by Mike McDaniel. I have Charlie Jones from Purdue. Fantastic route runner. Played in the Senior Bowl. Had a couple of catches as well. And then I had Jaron Hall from BYU, the quarterback in the 7th round, and Jay Ward as a backup safety. Now, Anthony's asking, Alf, what are your thoughts on Eli Ricks from Alabama?
Not many thoughts. I haven't done any work on him. I'm looking at some things here.
So we talked a little bit about the potential Dolphins, the prospects interviews, one with Tucker Craigcraft reviewed my mock draft, but there's still Tua talk going on, Alf. We had Josina Anderson report that the Dolphins are somehow still in the market for another quarterback. Marcel's reporting saying that the Dolphins are
Let
not.
me ask you something.
What's up?
You have Jalen Jones as a convert, or do you have him playing at cornerback in
I've
this
been playing
system?
as cornerback.
In this system,
Yes.
has he run yet?
No, he has not.
Okay, I think it'll be time dependent.
Time dependent, you think?
Yeah. If he doesn't run sub 4.5, you don't think that he? I don't know, man. Because I got my notes here on him. I don't have too many notes on Jalen Jones.
I have him as right at like a 4 or
I
5.
don't have him as a top 100 player because I don't have him in my 100.
No, but I think
And I got 115 players in my 100. So
he more so fits the ball skills of what they're looking for.
So you're using which pick on him?
I'm using, I believe, the 89th pick.
Okay.
Right around there.
Maybe it's a reach. Maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
But, man, I see him as a safety.
You know why else he has a safety? Tyreek Stevenson from Miami.
Absolutely. Although I saw him play at Miami, what are we talking about here? So sometimes these guys have to play good, right?
Yeah, I see him more so as a safety. But back on the topic of Tua, Josina Anderson saying that Dolphins are still in the market. There's rumors of Lamar Jackson coming to Miami. There's rumors of Lamar Jackson going to Washington. But then Marcel, Chris Greer, and Mike McDaniel are like, no, we're fully 100% committed to Tua Tagovailoa. We have the option for the 5th year, but we also want to consider.
Wait a minute, did somebody ask me about Eli Ricks?
Yeah.
No, I don't think too highly of him. He's in my opinion, he's the worst of the latest Alabama cornerbacks. I haven't done any work on him, but I did see him play a lot, and he's a super athlete. I'll tell you that right now. Like,
Alf, we're talking about Tua, man. Forget Eli Ricks. We're talking about Tua. We're talking Tua, right?
We're talking about internet rumors now.
Yeah, we're talking about Josina Anderson rumors. We're talking about Marcel Louis Jack rumors from ESPN. But I mean, Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel said it. We're committed to Tua in 2023. Beyond that, like, what do you think is the best option? 5th year extension?
Yeah, right now the best option. Yeah, right now the best option is to try to just kick this thing down the road, pick up that 5th year. It's the smart thing to do. It's good business. You're gambling on the best outcome, really. If he works out, you got him for $23 million at a bargain. Right. And then, of course, he's going to bone you. It's as simple as that. All right. If he has a good season, I think, and Chris Greer, look, and this is part of what Josina Anderson kind of reported, is that they're exploring all quarterback options. Yeah, they have a very wide net. Guess who said that? He said it at the combine, and he said it beforehand. Chris Greer said that. Okay. Mike McDaniel said that. What does that mean? Yeah, they have a very, very wide net looking for a backup quarterback. They don't want the disaster that the last 2 seasons have become because Tua gets injured, and then whoever gets in there goes 1-4, back-to-back seasons. That was their records in back-to-back seasons with their backup quarterbacks.
All right. So let me ask you this.
That's not good enough.
Let me ask you this. Do you go the draft route for a backup quarterback where I chose Jaron Hall? You could get Tyson Bagent. Or do you go Marcus Mariota?
I think they're looking elsewhere. I don't think that that's not what they're not going to draft one. I know that for a fact. I think they're going to look to spend, and I think that they're going to go big game hunting as far as big game hunting can be for a backup quarterback.
Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton rings a bell. You know who also rings a bell? I think that they're going to they're going to
Taylor
hope.
Heineke?
Absolutely. You know who does not? Gardner Minshew does not.
No.
Carson Wentz does not. I've already run those names by people that would know, and I was told, like, I was given this, like, no, that's not. So I'm like, all right, cool. I think, and I really do believe this, that they're gonna play the musical chairs game, and they're gonna hope that the music stops playing, and Jimmy Garoppolo is left standing around without a chair to sit in,
Oh boy.
and they're gonna offer him a 1-year deal. And Jimmy Garoppolo is going to say, look, do I sit on a beach somewhere or do I hold a clipboard for $12 million? I'll hold a clipboard for $12 million. And if Tua doesn't play, can't play for 2-3 games, I'm available, and I can be good.
But
And
would
who
you want to
knows?
spend that $12 million, or would you rather allocate it somewhere else?
It's not what I want to do. It's what they want to do. And I think they're going to try to figure out a way to pay somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo, who will be really expensive as a backup quarterback, in a way where it's not as impactful to the salary cap. So you could see something ridiculous.
Like a guaranteed 1-year, $12 million deal?
It could be something as stupid as a 4-year, $50 million contract. And people are going to be like, what? What are they doing? And then you look at the contract and it has 3 voidable years.
and then you'll see everything go off. You'll see the alarms blur off. You're like, oh my God, he's the backup for
And
Tua,
then
but he's going to replace Tua right after.
Yeah, and then you look at it, and then you look at the contract, and then the contract has, oh shit, there's 3 voidable years, and he's getting a pile of money in his first year. He's getting like $12 million guaranteed the first year, and then the rest of the years are phony baloney. You know what I mean? Which means essentially, yeah, they're gonna cut him.
All right, before we end this show right here, Alf, thank you so much for wearing our sponsors, head cap, whatever the heck you want to call it. Prize Picks, guys. It is our sponsor. Daily Fantasy Simplified. Sign up now to claim your limited time offer. I believe I believe Prize Picks has the numbers on the 40s, also the bench presses as well, but also the Heat and the Knicks play tonight. In about 30 minutes or so. The Before the Floor guys will be talking about Heat Knicks. Go ahead, maybe take the over on Tyler here.
By the way, I put up a Prize Picks play on 3YPC.
Really?
Yeah, I got 40-yard dash times. If you have them, you guys can actually watch me win or lose live on the air. Do you have 40-yard dash times for the cornerbacks?
Let me pick it up from the NFL real quick.
Because I'll tell you my play.
I'll tell you your play right now. You're gonna play it right now.
Okay, I'm telling you what I played already. Okay. I played Christian Gonzalez more than 4.35 on the 40.
Christian Gonzalez, 4.38.
Nailed it. That's a winner. Brian Branch, I have running faster than 4.48.
I don't think Brian Branch has. Brian Branch, 4.58.
He ran a 4.58 today?
He ran a 4.58 unofficial.
That's terrible. Well, now I got to hit the next 2. And if I can't hit the next 2, then I lost the bet. I got Cam Smith over 4.44.
Cam Smith. Let's go ahead and take a look at Cam Smith, 4.41. I'm sorry, wrong person. 4.43.
Cam Smith ran 4.43?
Unofficial. Jalen Jones from Texas A&M ran a 4.57 unofficial.
Okay, here's the last one. Joey Porter Jr. over 4.43.
All right, JPG, drum roll, please. Alf, give me the drum roll. Give me the drum roll. Give me the drum roll. 4.46 unofficial.
Okay, I went 2 for 4. Not good enough.
Not good enough. But you had all the numbers right there on Prize Picks, didn't you guys?
Yeah, and Cam Smith, I can't believe if Cam Smith ran 4.43 and I had 4.44, that's awful. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
his athleticism score hasn't been the best just yet. But before we go,
Brian Branch at 4.58, that kind of changes some of the things that. Okay, disregard everything I said earlier about Brian Branch.
Disregard everything he said about Brian Branch a little bit earlier, but I don't think a lot of people take.
He's buried now. I think you don't think that's going to hurt his draft stock running.
That'll hurt his draft stock, but dude, I really don't think they care. I really don't think. I think at least 45% of NFL teams do not give a flying shit about 40 times because everything
Well, you know that the previous regime on defense
I know they did,
absolutely
but
cared.
you have tracking data now. You have tracking data now, Alf. They use
Mm.
game film. They use tracking data from game film. They have chips in balls now. They use that to track it as well.
But now
You
we
don't
know
run
for
into
a
straight
fact.
line speed anymore, Alf. You don't
Yeah,
run in straight line speed.
but we know for a fact right now that the New England Patriots
Yes, we know that.
and and um the Vikings defensive coordinator
Right.
will not take Brian Branch.
They're looking at DJ Turner, Jacorian Bennett, Deontay Banks. Emmanuel Forbes is like less than 170 pounds, ran a 4.35.
Yeah, he's off my board. Like you can't play in this league at that weight, man.
No,
Like
you can't.
that's you
Darius
know.
Rush from South Carolina, 4.36. LaDainian Tomlinson's nephew or cousin, Travius Hodges Tomlinson, ran a 4.41.
In fact, I'll make a prediction right here on this show. Who's the fastest cornerback so far?
The fastest cornerback so far is DJ Turner right now, 4.26 unofficial.
4.26. What are New England's picks in the first round?
I believe they have the 15th pick.
That's their player.
No, that's not their player.
You don't think so?
No,
Who's going 15 then?
their player's more likely going to be Zay Flowers. I would assume. I would assume so.
They're going to take a flashy offensive player,
I think they
15th
will.
overall.
I think they will.
Hmm.
They need a wide receiver for Mac Jones. They had him on their roster
Maybe they get rid of all
at the
those
Shrine Bowl.
expensive stiffs that they have at tight end and they take the obvious thing, which is Michael Mayer, I
Uh-huh.
think, is going to be there at 15. Do you have your mock draft, by the way?
I don't have the full first round just yet.
You don't have the full first round just yet.
Not
Okay.
yet. I'm waiting after the
I'd
combine.
be interested when you finish that to go over that with you and I could critique that because my God, man, like I want to send Michael Mayer already to New England.
I do too, but they'll have 3 tight ends at all. You know what?
and two of them will be complete stiffs, really
I
expensive
will
stiffs.
welcome New England drafting Michael Mayer. They'll be like the Chicago Bears having 4 tight ends on their roster.
I think it's what they want to do. They want to be a 12 personnel team with Mac Jones. I think that helps Mac Jones. I don't think that that's a crazy
It isn't.
draft pick. Man, I would bet against Zay Flowers. I really would. Like that is such a non-New England player.
I think they may draft him.
Really?
It goes against it goes against everything that they value, but I think change is needed in New England. But before
This
we
is pretty
go,
cool. Let's play a little game of real time 40 times.
oh, who's next?
The one that I'm really interested in finding out has Deontay Banks run yet?
Maryland. He ran a 4.35.
There you go. 4.35?
Yeah. Look at the excitement on your face, man. 4.35.
Damn, this is a good class, man.
This is a deep class for
Okay,
defense.
throw him into 51 as a must draft. Now I guess we could go out on this unless you got more. You got more? You got another segment?
I do have one more segment before we go.
Okay, before we do that segment, let's play Alf's must draft game. I'm
Alf's
building
must
the
draft
list.
game at 51. Do you think they
Yeah,
should
the
do it,
must
maybe?
draft, which means that guy's on the board. Now you got to take him. Now, the scenario I'm going to give you, I think, is impossible.
It's
All right?
impossible.
But let's say that in the best case, and you can't trade out of this pick because it's. I'm not going to let you wiggle out of this and say, "Oh, I'll just trade down and maybe take 2 of them." No,
Come on, man.
you can't do that. You have to use 51, and all of these guys are on the board. And
Oh.
this is my must draft list, right?
Oh, Jesus.
It's the obvious one, Darnell Washington. He's
Thank
on
God
there.
I'm not Chris Greer.
Okay. Deontay Banks is on there. Okay.
Deontay Banks, he's 6 foot, 4.35, right?
Ridiculous speed, man.
Ridiculous speed. 10-yard split around. I want around a 1.49, 1.5. I'm looking at his 40 is 4.35. Arm length is 31 and 3/8. Wingspan 77 inches. Surefire tackler for sure. Run defense and good in zone man press. I would give him a good rating. Super athletic.
So here's the scenario. Darnell Washington is there. Deontay Banks is there. Jack Campbell is there.
Oh, jeez.
And The only running back that's gone off the board is Bijan Robinson.
Oh God.
What are you doing?
Oh God.
Because I don't know what to do. I'm tempted to say, man, take Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a
I am
star.
tempted to take Jahmyr Gibbs, but dude, let me tell you, man, I do think that linebacker is a big, big need, especially one that can hit the gaps, that can rush the passer, that can play middle linebacker, that's fluid, that can run side to side. We haven't had a linebacker like that in a while, and dude, this running back class is good. You have Zach Charbonnet, you have Roshan Johnson, you have Zach Evans from Ole Miss, who is also a fit in this West Coast system. He's like Jahmyr Gibbs light. I I'm going Jack Campbell with this, man.
You know what? It's like if you did that, like if that's the scenario and you did that, I can't argue with it. I really can't argue with it. Um, he plays right away. He's going to play over under 800 snaps.
Yeah, and honestly,
He'll
you
play
don't have
800
to pay
snaps.
Andrew Van Ginkel.
No,
You can get rid of him.
yeah, but my God, I look at this running back group. What's wrong with it? There's nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
This
Nothing.
is one of the better running back groups I can remember. Same thing with the tight end group.
If
There's a
if
bunch of
if you
tight
have
end.
not
The
taken
only
a look,
issue we have at tight end is that, like, look, and we did this guy on. We did two tight ends actually on through IPC. We did Sam Laporta. He fits.
Mhm.
Okay. But we
He
did Luke
fits.
Musgrave. And you can't argue that he's a really good player. He's Mike Gesicki 2.0. Like, it's
Can he block better than him?
anybody can block better than Mike Gesicki, basically. But Luke Musgrave, like Simon likes him, and Simon's like, oh, he's a passable blocker. He's improving. No. They won't take Luke Musgrave.
No.
His tape, it's all over his tape. He's an average college blocker,
I'm
which is
actually
to say he's mostly like most tight ends in college. Tight ends don't block anymore. They don't exist.
no.
Like, out of every 10 tight ends that you put on the tape for in college football, about 4 of them are never in line. Another 4 never block. And the last 2 are the ones that either block or block great.
Will
So
Mallory?
he's the worst blocking tight
I
end in
know
this
he
draft,
is.
maybe,
I
possibly.
know he is.
Okay. So I would say out of every
But
10
I will say
tight ends,
he did look good in the Senior Bowl. I will say that, blocking wise.
which doesn't say a lot of good things about the Senior Bowl. Okay.
Okay.
Or the guys that he was blocking.
Next
right?
segment, potential Dolphins, and I will relate this back. If I'm drafting,
But yeah,
Jack
but
Campbell,
back to the tight end spot. If you're looking for the blocker, there's 2 in the top 10 that I have in the top 10. Outside of the 2 obvious ones that. And look, and Michael Mayer, he has a reputation as a good blocker. He's not that great of a blocker either.
no,
Okay, so Darnell Washington, fantastic blocker.
he's
To
an
the
extra
point,
offensive tackle for y'all, for us.
pretty
Basically.
much. And then he's a super athlete, but he runs fast on Saturday, man. I think we're screwed. Okay, it's as simple as that. He runs fast. Nobody's passing that up.
No.
Nobody's passing up a 6'7", 270-pound tight end that can
Who
run.
can also catch, who can block, who
Yeah,
can run.
Yeah. What hurts him is what I think helps Miami, which is people are going to look. There's not that much production there. There's no targets. There's less than 50 targets in 4 years of college
Yeah,
football.
but remember, look, production, in my opinion, production does not matter in college. It's about intangibles. It's about traits. It's about how well
I disagree. I think
you
production
disagree.
is part of the story. I think it's a 3-headed monster, and production is one of them.
Okay.
And I think players become undraftable once you can't check 2 out of the 3 boxes. The 3 major boxes are measurables, in my opinion, measurables, intangibles, production, right?
Right.
And the measurables is all the data that you're speaking of. You check that, great. Okay. Now we're talking about intangibles, team captain, good guy, good interview, clean record off the field. That's 2. You can draft that. Put that guy on the board. You get 3, he becomes a priority guy. Okay. And then he goes on your big board. If you can't get 2 out of the 3, if you don't have production, you're already starting off with one check mark against, in my opinion. If you look at the tight ends, Darnell Washington is absolutely fabulous tight end. What hurts them is what could help us: the production.
The production.
And of course, you look at him on tape. he's not a good route runner. He's a terrible route runner. There's a lot of contested catches. First of all, there's not that many catches to look at in his college career, and the ones that they're almost all contested, which suggests he's a terrible route runner. Then you actually watch it, and yeah, he's a bad route runner. Period. There's just no way. There's no way to even change it. He's just a bad route runner. You look at
Okay, I will stop
Musgrave,
you right there, Alf. Professor Alf, thank you for the class, for everything. We have gone away a little bit off course, but I will say, back to that topic of discussing players we would select, Dwayne McBride from UAB. If you have not taken a chance to watch him or look at him, watch his tape. I believe he's one of the better pass protectors in this class. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. Passing game skills are strong. He's a very violent runner, kind of like Jeff Wilson. He can be available in the third, in the fourth, maybe the fifth. But Alf, if you could put a stamp on one player in this draft class that will be a Miami Dolphin, who is it?
I'm not gonna do the obvious thing and say, tight end from South Dakota State, or even say something like Trenton Simpson because we already know the Dolphins have met with him. I'm gonna go way off the board. I've dug a little bit, kind of deep into this running back class, and you know what? I'm not even gonna say Izzy Abanikanda because I think he'll be taken a little bit before they want to take this guy. But I think Miami's gonna take the Texas running back. And it's not the one that everybody wants. Yeah, no, we're not going to be that lucky. I think they're going to take Rashawn Johnson. I really, really like him.
I like Rashawn Johnson too. He's a big guy, big dude.
I think he's a perfect complement to Mostert. He's good in outside zone. He has some pass pro. Chops. So I'm going to say, give me Miami's picks. They got 51. Forget it. That's not going to happen. 51. If they want Izzy Abanikanda, I think that's where he's going to go because I got Abanikanda somewhere in the top 5 as far as running backs. Okay. Although I know I'm looking at a couple of places here. They absolutely hate him. I don't see how. Like, what's wrong with him? There's nothing wrong with this kid. Like, Abanikanda is obviously an NFL back. Okay. And he's going to run fast. So I think he's going to be a top 5 back. I think he'll go in the top 5. Like if I had to, if I had to rank them, it's tough. Let me see if I can work him into the top 5.
I think he'll go to Kansas City, Abanikanda. I think
even though they got Pacheco, look, Devin Achane, is somebody really going to fall in love with Devin Achane? Absolutely. It's happened before. It happens all the time. But I think that's going to hurt his stock as far as being a top 50 guy. So it's entirely possible he's there at 51. But I got my 3, and I think it's immovable. It's Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet. I think it's that's a lock. It's over with as far as that's concerned. I do like your suggestion, Dwayne McBride. He's a good player. He's right there. Tajay Spears. I mean, also, man, this is such a good class. This is such a good class. And a guy that I loved last year, I'm dropping him because I didn't like the way he played this past season in Kenny McIntosh.
Oh, I love Kenny McIntosh.
Me too. And, man, he has all the pedigree, man. But can you say he's had a better run-up to the draft this past season than a lot of these guys?
No.
Not you know what I mean? So, yeah, you know what? It is kind of tight. But I think I could put Izzy right there on 5 or 6-ish.
Right there. All right.
Yeah, he's right there. So, like I said, I'm going way off the board. Dolphins take Rashawn Johnson somewhere in this draft.
I like Rashawn Johnson. I like Rashawn Johnson a lot, and he will be a gem. But, Alf, thank you for coming on. I hate the fact that this is almost an hour podcast. I was shooting for 40 minutes, but really, really great discussion.
Well, I'm used to having very long-winded podcasts. In case you haven't noticed, we did an offensive review, and it lasted an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm not Simon. I'm not CK.
yeah. There's not 3 guys. It's just one of 3 guys here, being long-winded. today.
Exactly. I do long-winded stuff too. That's why Ethan doesn't let me on the Heat podcast.
Yeah. I might even go on that thing today so I could bitch about them playing the Knicks like they
The
better not
playback
lose
wall,
tonight.
you can bitch about them and the Knicks in about 5 minutes. The Before the Floor crew, who will be live previewing the Knicks and the Heat. Make sure you guys stick around at the Five Reasons Sports Network for NFL Combine coverage, Dolphins coverage, and Heat coverage. As always, y'all, fins up, baby.